Get back to this anti-Trump file from that research firm, Fusion GPS. It's now being accused of conducting a number of disinformation campaigns against Republican supporters on behalf of Democrats. And we're bringing in Human Rights Foundation CEO Thor Halvorssen. He says this firm also did a hit job on him. And he's saying, you say, Thor, it's good to see you, Thor. You say they get paid to destroy people, and they do so on behalf of criminals? What do you mean?
Well, Liz, they're calling them a research firm, I think, is a little bit of a stretch. These are smear artists. Fusion GPS earns the bulk of their money. Their largest payments come from criminal entities that are under a criminal investigation in the United States by prosecutors or law enforcement. And what they've learned is if you want to kill an investigation, if you want to destroy a law enforcement investigation, go after the witnesses, go after the whistleblowers. There's a company in Venezuela, of all places, that stole more than $2 billion in a $3 billion contract. And I was one of the people that was whistleblowing against them. It's a company by the name of Derwick Associates. They're people. Alejandro Betancourt has an apartment on Fifth Avenue, a jet, all sorts of things. And he hired Fusion GPS so that Fusion GPS would go after all of us who were whistleblowing. What did Fusion GPS do? They created dossiers, not just on me, but on 3 or 4 other people involved in this case. And then they took those dossiers and distributed them in the media. These dossiers contained totally false information, claiming, you know, in one case that I was a heroin addict, an embezzler, a pedophile. Okay. Now, the Wall Street Journal received a copy of the dossier and did nothing. Now, but another journalist did.
Thor, stay with me on this, because it is staffed by former Wall Street Journal reporters, including Glenn Simpson. And they put out these files. Yes. They make them look like it's a real government intelligence document. The problem, isn't it the problem, Thor, that the media hits the send button without checking it? They put these bombshell fake revelations out there doing hit jobs and smear jobs on people like you. By the way, you're of Venezuelan descent, right?
Yes, yes.
So why were you the subject of, you say, this smear job? Why were you the subject of it?
Because I was talking about Derwick Associates, and I was in touch with law enforcement in the United States, telling them about this theft, this multi-billion-dollar theft, and these people realized their lawyer, Adam Kaufman in New York, said, hire Fusion GPS, they will get rid of your problem. And what did Fusion do? What you just said. They sent it to journalists, and in one case, they paid a journalist. They paid a Washington, D.C. journalist, Ken Silverstein, who then wrote up a blog post and started a social media campaign. But make no mistake, Fusion GPS isn't just sending research. They're also paying journalists. They're also engaging in payola when it comes to these sorts of things. Because I have the evidence that Ken Silverstein received funds from one of the partners of Fusion GPS, from Peter Fritsch. Fritsch is a former journal reporter in GPS. Yeah. Yes, he's a former bureau chief for Latin America. What they've done is an outrage, and they're taking these committees in the House for a ride. These subpoenas should be paid attention to. They should be unmasked. I'm one of many of people that they've victimized, and they make no mistake, they are out to destroy people.
Thor,
that's what Fusion GPS is about.
And here's what else is happening. Hillary Clinton's former spokesman, Brian Fallon, he's trying to defend the fake Trump files, saying, quote, I regret I did not know about Christopher Steele's hiring pre-election. If I had, I would have volunteered to go to Europe and try to help him. I have no idea what Fusion or Steele were paid, but if even a shred of that dossier ends up helping Robert Mueller, it will prove money well spent. Now, even if Hillary Clinton kept Brian Fallon in the dark about this file, if Hillary, let's think this through. Thor, if Hillary Clinton had won, Brian Fallon would have been our press secretary with this kind of thinking. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm thinking that, you know, sometimes when people have a political agenda, they're willing to look past, and they want to believe things that are in the dossier. They wish that they were true. And that's when certain journalists make mistakes and press the send button because, well, it sounds like something we want to believe, so let's go ahead and rather than verifying it, fact-checking it. And because Simpson and Fritsch and their colleagues are former journalists, people said, oh, but they're credible. They're not credible. They're criminals. And what they're after is making as much money as possible.
But why do you say they're criminals?
Because when you are helping people obstruct justice and when you are covering up the crimes of foreign criminals, you are an accessory at that stage. And especially given that they're journalists and investigative journalists, they knew what, in the case of Derwick Associates, they knew what Derwick Associates was up to. They went to Venezuela. Fusion GPS went to Venezuela, visited their offices, looked into them, and chose a 7-figure retainer over doing the right thing and saying, we can't work for you because you're criminals. And make no mistake, Fusion GPS are smear artists. They're claiming privilege and lawyer privilege. I really hope law enforcement goes after them. I hope the FBI goes after them. I certainly am currently considering filing a FARA complaint against them with the U.S. government for Foreign Agents Registration Act and their violations of that.
Okay.
So I thank you for bringing attention to this case.
Thor Halvorssen, you are a human rights activist. You're CEO of a human rights foundation. Thor, we want to have you back on. Great stuff. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.